meeting, 6 p.m. on January 19th, held remotely. Let's do roll call first. We have Craig Brannan.
If you can unmute and just say here.
Vicki Leher.
Here.
Monica Barton.
Here.
Terry Millette here. Mark Harris.
Here.
Karen Papa.
Here.
And Kimmy Porter may still join us.
And for the record, Craig is here. He just was on mute. So.
Okay. We'd like to make approval of the agenda. Would anybody like to make a motion to approve the agenda?
I make a motion to approve the agenda.
And second?
I second it.
All in favor? Aye.
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 Agenda has been approved. Approval of the minutes from the October meeting. We did not have minutes for the last one because we did not have quorum. Does anyone want to make a approval of the minutes? A motion to approve the minutes of October 20th, 2021?
I make a motion to approve the minutes.
Anyone second?
I'll second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Approval of the minutes of October have been moved on. New business, we have the Pleasant View Park Rain Garden, and we have Paige here tonight. And thank you for coming back.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah, chair, members of the commission, Paige was here at our November meeting to present on the potential for adding a rain garden to Pleasant View Park. And she did present where things were at the time, but since we didn't have a quorum, it was just informational for those of us that were at the meeting. And but she has come back and she'll be going through this again so everyone can be familiar with this again and then give us any updates as where we are in the process. So with that, Paige, I will turn it over to you.
Awesome. Thank you, Audra. Let's share my screen again. All right. Can y'all see that okay? So I will give a little bit of background for those of you who weren't at the meeting in November. Just go to the next. So I also was having issues with PowerPoint today. It wouldn't open properly, so I had to change this to a PDF. So I think it'll work just fine, but it's a little hard to read. But Audra has the plan available that she can send out, and I can send this as well. Sure. So I'm with the Ramsey Washington Metro Watershed District, and we've worked with the city a lot on various parks projects. I'm sure you guys are all a little bit familiar with us, but we have funding available through various grant programs. We have our stewardship grant program, which exists if the city wants to do a project of some type, like the City Hall projects, those rain gardens out front. We're a stewardship grant project, so people can come to us and say, hey, we want to do a water quality improvement. You know, what grant funding or assistance do you have available for that? And then we also have what we call our targeted retrofit program, where we go out and look for good project sites. So we have a separate budget for that and can usually offer a little bit more assistance and as far as the design and the actual project, and then additional assistance for maintenance and signage and things like that. So we'll talk about that. But yeah, so what we usually do every year is go out and do site visits. We have a desktop analysis that we start with where we identify projects at the desktop level, just looking at where they're located within our watershed district. We have different drainage areas broken out, and Pleasant View Park came up because that's within the Fish Creek subwatershed, which we consider impaired or at risk of becoming impaired. So we offer additional funding for those projects, and we don't have a lot of projects in that drainage area. So this was exciting. We like to look at parkland just because it's wonderful to partner with, obviously with Maplewood and other cities. It makes things a little bit easier for us when we know that there's somebody who also shares our interests involved in that. And then also just having the, education and outreach is a big part of our component. So doing projects at parks is a great way to have people see what we're doing as well as get that water quality benefit. So here's kind of some grainy pictures of that Pleasant View. I think it's Crestview Lane. Is that right, Mark? You live over there, right?
Yes.
Yes, Crestview Lane. I always say drive, but lane, yes. So it's a cul-de-sac there with a little, I guess, impromptu parking lot. It's not marked or anything, but parking lot area there. One reason we like to look at parkland is because there are open spaces not always used for recreation or whatnot. So usually there's a lot of mowing going on, and city time is precious. So we want to look for ways to help minimize that if it's not in an actively used ball field or a place where kids are running around, things like that. So that's why this one jumped out. We at first, when I came in November, had a few different options, and we've narrowed that down. So that's what I'm going to present today. Is looking at a rain garden option. One of the options we had talked about last time was potentially doing something more on this residential property. We thought that would be what we had to do, just given the drainage and whatnot, but we didn't have all the drainage or the survey work in at that point. So now, once we've seen that, we've saw that we could stay off of that residential property, which makes things a lot easier. So we're proposing, I'll show you the plan here, but just is a large rain garden right off of that parking lot area. And here's that plant. Again, I apologize, it's hard to see. You don't necessarily need to read all of these little things at this point. There are a lot of little notes on there, but just this gives an idea. And this is our engineer who put this together. This is very high level. This is the maximum size it would be. They still need to do some drainage calculations to see how much water would be treated with this. Typically, we're looking to treat a 1.1 inch runoff event. That's just the most polluted rainwater. After that, the water's kind of considered a little bit more clean. So we don't need to over-treat anything just for the sake of, having that. But that being said, once we have that, we can work with you guys and Audra and see, maybe you still want additional native plantings in there. Maybe it doesn't necessarily need to be that depression area of the rain garden or whatnot, but something we can talk about. I just don't want that size to scare anyone at this point if that's kind of jumps out at you. So what we're proposing is, yes, this large rain garden. We also at the last meeting talked about potential for porous pavers. That just gets a little bit expensive, and it's not as great to show off to the public. They don't really know what's going on. So it's nice when we can have these above ground features with the added benefit of the native pollinator plants. We get, and I'll talk about some signage too. So with this, and again, you can't really see on here on that plan, but there's this existing storm sewer catch basin off Crestview Lane there. We thought we could tie into that, but it looks like that, just given the structure and the elevations, we may have to add a second structure here to actually collect the rainwater off of the cul-de-sac. Potentially some off of this parking bay there that will drain into the rain garden. And then if ever, when we get a large rainfall event that kind of overflows that, then it'll just naturally bypass the way it is now into that existing storm sewer. So we won't treat all of that rainwater, but if we get something over that 1 inch rainfall, then that'll just bypass like normal. So we don't overwhelm that structure. Or the rain garden. These are designed to drain within 48 hours. We don't want to have prolonged standing water, anything like that. So that'll help with that. One other thing to note, most likely along this south edge, right along that parking bay there, would most likely need a small retaining wall, just given the elevations and the drops. I think some of the slopes are a little bit steeper up here. So we might have to look at a small retaining wall, but nothing drastic by any means. We'd look at, kind of talk with Audra and other Maplewood staff about the planting scheme. It can be as simple or as extravagant as you want. We lean towards natives. The more variety you get, a little bit more difficult the maintenance is, just making sure that you have people that can identify those plants. But what we typically like to do is, no matter what planting scheme you decide to go with, we clump those plants together so that you have, certain types of species in each area. So that makes maintenance a little bit easier. If you see something that, or the maintenance staff sees something that doesn't look like the other plants, that can come out. Also through this, Ramsey Washington provides the first 2 years of maintenance. So we'll hire a contractor, usually the contractor who does the installation, to do those first 2 years of maintenance. And that just helps get things established. Those first 2 years are the most critical, the most intensive. And it also allows us to see, you know, it's not draining properly or certain plant isn't functioning in there. We can scrap that and put something new in there before we hand it over to Maplewood to maintain. But yeah, typically the big maintenance with these will be replacing mulch as needed, you know, every few years, kind of depending on the look you want to. Some of these, depending on the planting scheme, the plants will fill in over time and you may not want or need the mulch in there. Plant replacement as needed. We select plants that can handle rain garden conditions. They're native to Minnesota and also salt tolerant, so they can handle the rough conditions of the urban roadways. What else? And then just, so there'll be an inlet structure too. So that is going to collect all the sediment and debris. I don't know how much trash gets over here, but a lot of park and, you know, our rain gardens at Maplewood Mall, they collect a lot of trash, which we always tell people, just remember you're keeping it out of our local lakes and keeping it out of Fish Creek. So an easy way to clean it out there. But so that'll be just another piece of maintenance too. But Maplewood staff, they're, you know, they've done a lot of rain gardens, and then they are also familiar with we have maintenance contracts available where we can wrap any projects into after we do that first 2 years of maintenance. We can work with the city to tie into our ongoing maintenance program afterwards. Let me see what else. Oh, there is an existing sign. I don't think I have a picture of it here. Oh, I think it was in here. Yes. So this Pleasant View sign would probably be impacted with the size we are proposing here would be impacted. So we would just have to relocate that maybe over to the western side over there. But we can look at that once we have the final size down. And then we would also look at adding, this is just a rain garden picture. This is at Maplewood Middle School. So we have new signs that we're working on. If any of you have seen, we have quite a few of this type of sign out, but Audra, I think you saw this new one. This is under review at this point. We're looking to install signs at Wakefield Park. We worked with a designer at Metro Blooms to do kind of a prettier rendering of the native plants and just showing people what's going on. Again, you can't read this, but I can send out, or once the draft is done, we can send that on and so what we're hoping to do is keep these signs as a template, and then we can just update those for these types of projects, or you know, update as needed. We have the you know, so it could say rain garden at Pleasant View Park, little spiel about rain gardens. We show the drainage area, which is kind of cool. A lot of people don't actually know where the water flows. Some places isn't quite as obvious as others, so that's kind of neat to show. And then any, you know, like this one will add the City of Maplewood logo and any other relevant funding that we get there. So that's that. The estimated cost for this right now, again, would be covered by Ramsey Washington, but we're looking at about $77,000 for the actual construction, with another probably 15 to 20 in engineering costs. Again, that's all provided through this grant, but just wanted you to be aware of that cost at this point. So it's just kind of a high level engineering cost that we'll refine as we go forward. But I think for next steps, so we finished the survey work, I think actually the day of the last meeting or right around there. And then our concept plan is complete. And then, so our next step, if you all are in favor of this rain garden plan, we'll go forward with, you know, looking up more of the details for the drainage area, how much water will be treated by this rain garden, and come up with draft plans. I don't know, I guess it depends what you want to see, if we'll have a planting plan at that point. Usually we don't, usually we save that just because that's kind of a last step, but I can take comments on that too. But we'll have the more closer to final construction plans ready. And then look for another, if you want me to come back to another meeting, I can definitely do that, to bring that to you all, and then have final plans in the spring so that we can go out for bid. We would aim for May 4th as our Board of Managers meeting where they would approve it to go out for bid. We have a little flexibility with that, but our board, just like you guys, only meets once a month. So we want to make sure we get the bids out as early as possible, just to give the contractors a big window to work on here. I say June 15th to November 1st. Typically, we have better luck when we give them a big window. We'd want to work around if, I don't know if there's any seasonal activities that go on at this park or anything we'd want to avoid, that, that parking lot is needed. But typically, once they get in there, something like this should, I don't want to jinx anything now, but probably be a 3 to 4 week project, obviously depending on rainfalls and whatnot. But, we work with contractors that are very capable. They do a lot of these. They wouldn't be able to work that whole time. So typically we say, once you start, you have to finish within 21 or 21 days or whatnot. So they have that window from start to finish. And then there is a little leeway with planting. Again, if they maybe not, the contractor isn't able to start until a little bit later in the fall, it might be better for them to plant. So I'm forgetting my years now, but in 2023 versus a fall planting, or if they are able to start right away in June, maybe we would ask them to hold off for a fall planting. So we give them a little flexibility there. But that's all I have. So I'll open it up to any questions or comments.
Paige, I'm just wondering, I know the big thing that we talked about last time, and I don't see it in your agenda there, is working with the neighbors and finding out their input about having it in their neighborhood or whatever. When does that fit in the plans there? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but where are we asking our neighbors?
So we can do that at any, I guess, after this meeting. That was more on my list if it was going to be in the residential property. But we can definitely still do outreach to those neighbors. I may talk with Audra about that or take advice from you all on how to handle that.
Sure.
It just gets yeah. Oh, go ahead, Audra.
Sure, chair, members of the commission. And that was my understanding too when we were talking, and I know some of you weren't at that meeting, but originally they had thought about putting it on residential property, and that was definitely, the group was like, we need to notify them and see their input. But then when you had made a recommendation at that meeting, kind of unofficially because we didn't have a quorum, but to try to avoid putting it on residential property. And that's what I think, Paige, you took that back to the group, and it looks like this new design would not be on any residential property. It would be in the neighborhood, but it would be not on their property.
Correct.
Don't we think we maybe want to ask the neighbors that it's going to be in that neighborhood just so they're aware of it, or it's not just a big shock? I mean, it's a great idea or whatever, but it's their cul-de-sac or whatever. They should be aware what's going to come into there, I think.
Yeah, we definitely can do, we can put together some information. I would be hesitant, when you say ask them if we can do it, if you guys are all on board with it, I would love to put together something and say, hey, this is happening.
On what's coming so that they know and they have any questions. And also, Paige, and then I'll get out of the way. But one thing, it was just a concept before, and this is the first time the whole commission has gotten to see this concept. And so we didn't have anything on the agenda for a formal recommendation, but it would be nice maybe after the draft plans, and I still have to have conversations. I've talked with Public Works, but just about snow removal, things like that. We're still have to meet and talk about that. So maybe you and I can connect, and then again, maybe one more meeting to come back. And I saw your schedule, and it probably wouldn't work to do it right before final plans are done, but after the draft plans are done, when it's really more narrowed down, maybe coming back, and then it would be open for maybe a recommendation from the commission. I don't know how the commission feels about that, but that would be kind of what I was thinking.
So
Yeah, that works for
Paige,
us.
one thing,
Yeah.
Paige, I know that we had discussed that earlier on, that the storm drain looks to be over the property line, and that was the concern we had, is that having to rework that storm drain was going to be impacted by that neighbor, correct?
Correct. Yeah, I think that was part of the concern.
Yeah.
Okay, but now it sounds like we've got an alternative to that, so we don't have to go on. And it's not necessarily that the garden itself is going to be on the property. It's just that the storm drain or the water access is going to be out at the street side, which was close or on the neighbor's property, correct? Because I can see that the garden itself is not going to be in the neighbor's yard. So, and I don't think that was the issue to begin with anyway.
Right,
just
I
the
think
water.
when we, oh, sorry.
No,
Yeah, just that drainage there. Yeah,
Yeah, and
so.
it sounds like you've addressed that issue that through the survey, and you've determined that there's not going to be an impact to that neighbor's yard, either with the garden or the water catchment system that it's going to be necessary in order to feed the water into this rain garden, correct?
Yes, correct.
Okay.
Yep, and I think
So,
that's a
and then
good
the
point
one-
too, that, oh, sorry, I don't know if I'm slower.
No, go ahead.
There's
Go
a
ahead.
little delay. I was just gonna, the previous point about letting the neighbors know, that would be one neighbor we want to for sure let know about this work, because, you know, as much as we will tell the contractor to stay off of their property, inevitably they're gonna probably drive something over there. So we'll make sure that they are aware to call me or, you know, get a hold of me if they see any issues. But we always have it written in that the contractor needs to repair anything or whatnot. So we'll make sure they're on board too.
Okay. I mean, and I'm more than willing to make myself available to go with anybody when you want to have discussions with these neighbors, because they are neighbors of mine, and I can also assure them that I'll have my eyes on this and watch as things progress to make sure that everything's done. You know, if there's issues that they've got a voice, let's put it that way.
Yeah.
So,
Okay. That's very helpful.
I do have one other question. And Audra, I think you kind of spoke to this a second ago, is snow removal. Right now, a lot of times, because it's an end of a cul-de-sac, the trucks are coming down that street and just pushing it over the hill, which is going to be right into the rain garden. So what would plans be in order to get maintenance to making sure that they're not destroying this rain garden with snow removal at the end?
And Chair, members of the commission, that's exactly what I was speaking to, that we haven't had those conversations yet, because we're just, I mean, we are addressing, you know, sharing this with the group now. Unfortunately, we weren't able to do this with the full group in November, and we didn't have a December meeting, but I have talked to the public works director, and we have to follow up with those conversations. But again, tonight, it's important to get the general, you know, commission's feedback and thoughts about, you know, how they feel about the idea in general. And then those are details to follow for sure.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. And the big thing with snow removal, you know, you've all seen, and I think we talked about this last time too, but those piles of snow they're just really dirty. So the snow can go in, you know, it's not great for the plants. It kind of compacts things, but it just adds a lot of extra maintenance when you get all that grit and grime in there that needs to be cleaned out. So we do try to avoid it. So I think that is probably, something we will talk about soon. So if we need to shift anything, we want these to be easy for the plow drivers to work around.
Anyone
Well,
else have
there's
anything?
numerous cul-de-sacs in this neighborhood, and they do snow removal differently on other cul-de-sacs. So there's certainly a workaround.
Sure. Okay, good.
Any other questions?
I don't know if this was asked during the last meeting, but I know that you have some criteria for the plants that you plan on putting into the rain garden. Is there any particular focus on like plants that are good for pollinators, like bees or butterflies? Yes,
for sure. That's kind of always our go-to. We and I don't have any examples here of some planting palettes, but it can be what you guys want, and we would definitely look to you for direction on that. Some people more on the commercial side, I would say, just want shrubs in there. They're easy to maintain, you know what doesn't belong in there, but we definitely can do a more pollinator focused garden where it has a lot of those native species in there. You get color, we select color plants that bloom different colors all year round, or seasonally. So yeah, definitely a focus of ours, and one of the requirements of the grant is that there's native plants.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
We have plenty of bushes in Pleasant View Park. We can sure use some color.
Yeah, true.
I think
Anyone else?
I think the benefits of a rain garden sounds really good for that.
Yeah, for sure.
Any more comments? Well, at this time, Paige, you're not asking for a recommendation or anything. You're just updating us. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. Yep.
Okay,
Unless you
all
were
right.
telling me absolutely not, then we'll stop.
okay. Anyone else have any more comments? Well, thank you so much for coming again, Paige. We appreciate it.
Yes,
Thanks
yes,
very
absolutely.
much,
Thank
Paige.
you all. Yep, we'll see
I'll
you in
circle
a
back
few
with
months
you.
probably.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Paige.
And now we'll move on to the 2022 Parks and Recreation Commission goal setting.
Yes, thanks, Chair, members of the commission. I'm just going to give a little background as to what that is, the goal setting, and why we do it. And it's a policy issue, and in compliance with Article 2, Section 2120 of the Maplewood City Ordinance, the Maplewood Parks and Recreation Commission is required to submit an annual commission report. In addition to this report, the Parks and Rec Commission will provide a list of 2022 goals to the City Council. So every year we do compile an annual report of the previous year and then review goals and look to set new ones if we want, or to continue goals that maybe you haven't gotten to, or you want to refine those goals. And that is completely up to the commission to do. I did provide you a list of last year's goals in the packet. Was everybody able to see those? I can also put them up on my screen during the, for you for reference if you'd like while we're talking, but if everybody has them, it's up to you what you would like me to do there. But usually it takes 2 meetings. We'll take this meeting to kind of review the goals we had and get ideas for new ones. And I'll do my best note taking that I can, and then and your recommendations to add. And then I'll come back at the February meeting and share those with the group, and we'll make sure they're a good fit and it's what people want. And then at that meeting, you will be giving a recommendation to approve them, and then they will be added to the annual report that goes to City Council. So any questions about the process? Because I know we have a few new members of the commission.
No question, but Audra, would you please put yours?
Sure. Yep, absolutely.
Thank you.
Let's see. Are you able to see the goals?
Yeah, we can
Yeah.
see them.
Yeah.
Yes.
You can see them? Okay, I'm going to change it to full view so they're easier to see. All right, can everyone read that, or should I make them a little larger?
Can read
A
it?
little larger. There we go.
How's that?
Yeah, that's good.
Perfect.
Okay. All right, and I can just go through these really quickly and read through them while you're putting on your thinking caps. For 2021, the Parks and Recreation Commission identified the following goals and made a point to tie them to the strategic priorities created by the City Council. The PRC acknowledges successful completion of these goals may be affected by budgetary constraints and the state of the COVID-19 pandemic. And that was true in many ways, but we're getting back on track, which is good news. But the goals that you all went with last year were to continue to implement the outcomes of the Parks and Recreation System Master Plan and stay on top of park improvement plans, continue to find new ways to engage the residents of Maplewood in community processes, offer special events and programming at a variety of parks, and make arts and culture a priority, ensure we meet the programming needs of the actively aging community and offer inclusive wellness-based activities in our parks, hold a meeting dedicated to review the implementation progress of the Nature Center and Programming Task Force recommendations and receive regular updates as well, value the youth perspective and appoint a student PRC member, receive annual updates from the MCC YMCA, community groups and partners, and look for ways that we can work together, hold a meeting dedicated to connectivity and trails, and then explore the idea of consistent signage that utilizes technology in our parks. So with that, I will turn this over to the commission for discussion and recommendations of any new goals you might want, or how to change ones that exist, or which ones to keep. So I will turn it back over to you.
So number 5, have we kind of done something with that already? What's going on? I mean, with the Nature Center now, they were going to close and they reopened. So has that been?
Well, yeah, Chair, members of the commission, I think that goal came out of the fact that we had those task forces, and we wanted to have a meeting, which we did do in 2021, to talk about the outcome of those task forces, but then to receive regular updates on implementation. And I believe every meeting since that meeting when we talked about the results, I've given an update on programming at the Nature Center and updates. I do that at the end of each meeting, and I've got some more updates for you tonight. So it's up to the commission if they want to continue that into 2022 as things progress and move forward. But that was the base of that goal, I believe.
So the Nature Center's a go now. I mean, it's up and running and there's no chance of it closing at all or anything.
It's open, not the way it was before. I mean, we don't
Okay.
have the naturalist on staff, but staff is officed here. And, we're working to look for partnerships with others that want to come in and program, but we are not, there's not the way it was before with the Nature Center where we're offering programs with our naturalists. It's different. And so we're trying to find our way and look for partners to do. And I've got some good updates for you at the end of this meeting, but it's still gonna be
I think it's a good idea that we keep updated by them and also figure out if they need any help or whatever from us, if we can do some volunteering or whatever they need. I think it would be horrible if we let that go. So I think we should keep on that one.
No, I agree. I think that the Nature Center needs to be a very strong focus. And I think we need to also be continuing to look at, for those programs that went away is, given the fact that the pressures that took them away as they begin to ease up, is there any ability for us to reinstate some of these programs and be able to, get back to a sense of normalcy down there? It may not be this year, it may not be next year, but I think we need to remain focused on that and continue to make sure that we keep the Nature Center as a destination place for people to be going, experiencing and learning.
I agree. I think it's important that we also keep up with the YMCA. I know we're always going to meet with them. I don't think we've had them in for a while, so I'd like to make it a kind of a priority to make sure we meet with them this year for sure, have a meeting with them to know what they're offering, especially since we don't have all these programs available for the kids. Let's see what's out there with the YMCA. I know they've gone through changes and I think they just got a new person again this month. So it would be nice to know what they're offering for everybody.
Yeah, maybe we can add Rev Sports or even some of the associations to come in and give us just updates or how their programs are going.
Yeah, I was going to say that we should have some kind of a follow-up for, these were the kind of participation numbers before, just kind of have a sense of where we are now with the pretty radical change in the way we're doing programming.
Even like the Y now, I know you go in January every other year, and this is COVID, it's different, but you couldn't even get on a machine sometimes when you first went in January. Everybody had their New Year's resolutions or whatever, and now there's maybe 3 people at most when I go up there at night. So I
mean, should we be able to expect that the YMCA and Rev Sport should be able to come in maybe quarterly and give us updates and get that on their radar, knowing that they need to come in and do that on a regular basis to let us know what's going on?
And I think we've tried to do it twice a year, and we have been lucky if we get once a year. So maybe if we said quarterly, we could at least get them in maybe once or twice a year. I know we always try to get them in.
Let's make it monthly.
Members of the commission, as Terry alluded to, they have had some changeover and they have a brand new executive director for this branch. And City Manager Melinda Coleman had volunteered to come in for an update if you wanted her to, or if you wanted to wait till the new director was up and running, you could come in. And I believe the commission at that time at that meeting had agreed that they were fine waiting. So it's definitely on the docket to do.
Okay.
For him to come in. And then Rev Sports, I mean, they could join us in a meeting, but we also can update you on the numbers with the classes and the registrations. That's all something that we can do, but I can certainly ask if the director of the Rev Sports company would want to come and talk to the group about their philosophy and what they offer. I can definitely put that ask out. But as far as updates, I can give you, I actually will be giving you an update at the end of this meeting because the classes just started Tomorrow is the first day of the first class, and the first session starts January 20th and the 22nd. So I've got updates for you on class numbers and what's going, and I'll continue to do that, in our update.
I believe the Y's really got a good crowd for the seniors. You go during the day and the classes are just packed, but it's once at night now. There's not the young crowd that used to be there, and a little bit of basketball, but nothing like there used to be. There's not hardly anyone there. It would be nice to see more families going again and stuff, especially since we don't have the parks open and it's cold, and it seems very safe. I mean, COVID friendly up there. If you want, you can wear your mask. They're cleaned up. Everything's spread out more. So,
Sure. So, chair, members of the commission, for goal number 7, do you want me to take the word annual out and just leave updates so that it can be annually, but it could be more than that? Or we could say,
I'd like to see it quarterly. If we put in quarterly,
I believe
let's see what
quarterly
happens.
would be good.
okay.
especially since we don't have our own parks activities right now, it'd be nice to know what's going on.
I agree.
Yeah, same here.
Quarterly seems like a lot if they aren't even able to do twice a year, but maybe we can propose it, Audra, in a way of we'd like to help if we can, right? It's not just to give us an update, but like we kind of want to gauge the situation and contribute where we can as well.
Sure. And I guess I would go to that. Like, I know you want the updates, but like I had said before, I will, as the staff liaison, be able to get those updates and share them with the group. But as far as coming to meetings, we can, it's your goals, we can certainly put it in. But again, it's to get someone to come to a meeting and deciding which groups it would be, we can definitely, say, hey, would you like to come and talk to the commission about what you do and what your group does? We can absolutely do that. I don't know if quarterly is too big of an ask, but if you want to put that in the goals, we certainly can.
Well, I think since the Y has been there, they have never attended one of our Parks and Rec meetings, have they? I don't recall that ever happening.
They have, but probably not since you've been on the commission. It's been a little while.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's been a while. Yeah.
But they never came quarterly. They would come during the year and give an update. And I was reading the rest of the goals. It's not just the Y, it's community groups and partners. So like I said, if I took the annual out, it could leave it open to quarterly or monthly. It could just leave it up as updates, and we can talk as a group of who you would like to see come. Because I would love to get that feedback, and I can always invite a group to come to a meeting. So just a thought.
It'll be interesting just to see who's in charge each quarter, because it seems like they're going through employees like crazy over there. And so that was one of the big things when I first joined. You always knew everybody. You felt like a big, you always were welcome there. You knew everybody when you went in, and now you don't always know. You just start to know somebody and they're gone. So I'm just kind of curious of what's going on, and if that's the reason there's less people are going, or maybe there's more people going than we think.
Sure.
And I think if we quantify it and say quarterly, it puts a little bit more importance on the fact that we want to hear from them.
Yeah.
Rather than just, it's annual and they can blow us off, you know?
So how about,
I just think it brings a little bit more accountability to them. They may not show up quarterly. We might get once or twice a year, but at least we'll be getting more than we're getting now.
Correct.
so for number 7, do you want to say quarterly updates from the MCC YMCA as well as updates from community groups? So not putting that quarterly onus on the second half of that goal, but putting quarterly for the YMCA and updates from other community groups, because we'll have to figure out what those groups are and if the commission wants them to come and speak to you. Because I think just adding those few words in there can tweak that goal.
Right. And it is a goal. So, you meet it or you don't.
Yeah. So receive quarterly updates from the MCC YMCA, as well as updates from community groups and partners, and look for ways that we can work together.
Yeah.
How does that sound?
Sounds good.
Sounds better,
like it.
yeah.
Okay. Like I said, these are your goals. I'm just trying to facilitate so the conversation, but ultimately they're your goals.
On point number 8, hold a meeting dedicated to connectivity and trails. Did that happen?
It did
And
not.
who are we connecting with, and what trails are we talking about?
Well, that was a request from a commissioner, and just talk about really where we are with our trails and how they connect, and just talking. And actually, I want to talk to the public works director, because we're already looking at with every street project and every new project, we're adding sidewalks and trails. But we're looking at how they're maintained and what it's going to take to maintain all these new sidewalks and trails, especially with snow removal and that kind of thing, based on the staff and what we have. So that's a conversation that's happening, and it's a little bit late. It'll be out of 2021, but that's a conversation I would like to bring back to this group, and it's definitely on the docket.
So would that be?
Well, I think this would be an excellent time to be talking about this, because and it may be too late, but I was out riding my bike through Battle Creek Park probably in the fall, and there were a bunch of people standing in front of one of the signs that showed all their trails, and they were holding a meeting. And this was actually back in September, because I had just interviewed for this position, and they're looking at redoing all the signage in Battle Creek Park. And one of the questions they had was connectivity to neighboring parks and access, which would obviously be in Maplewood. And I don't know if we've reached out to them and talked about that, but they have a group that's working on this exact project right now, and they're looking at making all new signs, replacing all their trail signs and everything with. I mean, they had different artwork, they had all different types of layouts and what looked better and all that type of thing. So I don't know if we could reach out to them and see what they've got going, and maybe get them coming into a meeting and talk to us about it.
Are you referring to the work they're doing on the Battle Creek master plan? Because that is happening currently, and actually their master plan and all their proposals are on their website. So I can send a link to everyone, but that I think it'd be really great if the commission could take a look at the Battle Creek master plan. And so that's a great point, Mark. I'll make sure to send that link to everyone.
This group was specific to the signage going into the parks that detailed the maps, how different trails connecting in, etc. Because I actually stopped and participated in the meeting and talked with them about this. So
sure.
It'd be interesting to find out who was all a part of this group, and how that can carry over into possibly us doing this in Maplewood.
So I'm getting the feeling that we definitely want to keep this goal for 2022.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I'd like
And
to
that
say, I
ties
live on the Bruce Bento Trail, and the people that are doing the maintenance on that trail this winter are awesome. It is the minute it snows, it is cleared and it is being used nonstop. So they're doing an awesome job keeping that trail clear.
Right.
I would second that as well. I'm just down a little bit on the trail. Yeah.
Yep. It always seems like it's cleared and safe to walk, ride your bike, or whatever in the winter. It seems great.
Good. And then I think, Karen, if I could speak to when we talked about the signage too, and Mark, that's where 8 and 9 kind of would go hand in hand. It's just we've done some changing of our signage, like we've gotten new park rule signs, and we're slowly getting there, but just consistent signage throughout the system, and possibly upgrading them and using technology is, again, great ideas. It does cost money and it takes time, but it's definitely a goal that as a department we would continue anyway. So it would be up to the commission if they also want to keep that goal. But that's one of the priorities to keep going and figuring out the signage in our park, especially as we're redoing parks and doing improvements.
In the parks, are we doing any type of QR code type of programs on signage where people can go up and scan it and it brings up information on the park?
We do it on signage that's not permanent, But again, yeah, that's one thing we've done. We actually used it for our snowshoe program. We had signs for, you just had to scan the QR code and you could watch the video. It would take you to where the video was of how to put snowshoes on. And the Friends of Maplewood Nature, they're a 501c3 group that supports the Nature Center and programming. They're actually finalizing implementing their tree trek program. So they're going to have that up and running where you'll be able to use the signage around the Nature Center and find out about the trees. And so, yep, we do actually do some of that.
With the snowshoe program, is there any type of like snowshoe rental or equipment rental that we have?
Yep, there is, in addition to, and I'll do that update at the end of the meeting, but in addition to the pop-up snow events that we've done that are free to the public, just to get them to be able to come out and try out the snowshoes and just for someone who's never even been on a pair of snowshoes before. And then we also right now have opened the rentals up during the day when we're here at the Nature Center, that you can come in and rent shoes, and it's $5 a pair, and you can come and check out the shoes and take a trip around the grounds. And then the pop-up events we're planning to do in here, but we also, the one we did last weekend was at Wakefield. So we're trying to move them around different parts of the city so we can take the snowshoes to where people are at and then come out to a park and try them out on a weekend and have some fun.
Thanks.
Is there a charge for those shoe rental then, or how do they do that?
Pop-up shoe event, the pop-up snowshoe events, no. But if you want to just come to the Nature Center and grab a pair, it's $5.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yep.
I'd like to keep number 2 as well as a goal, just engaging residents or gathering feedback, maybe even looking at, using social media to get feedback and things like that. I think it's good for our group to hear from the community.
I almost think that should be our number 1 goal.
Yeah.
I would like to add on to that as well, or else possibly have another goal. And that would be that, and this ties into the rain garden project at Pleasant View that you talked about, letting the resident know that this was going on. I think that any resident whose property backs into one of Maplewood's parks should be notified of any changes that will be happening in the park. And so I don't know if that can be tacked on to number 2 in some way, or if it would be another goal in and of itself. But I just feel like it's an important part and a responsibility of the city to let residents know of changes and improvements that will be coming to parks. There are a lot of parks in Maplewood, and most of them are surrounded by homes and properties.
Karen, let me ask a question to define on that. Are you saying that so like on this rain garden, are you saying that every house that abuts to the park needs to be notified, or the houses that are within close vicinity of that particular project?
I'm thinking houses in close vicinity. The
Okay.
houses in close
Okay.
vicinity that would see it and have some interaction with what's happening there.
Chair, members of the commission, Karen, I totally see where you're coming from, and I know you live on Harvest Park, and like with the Harvest Park Master Plan, we absolutely made sure to contact and engage residents for the bigger projects. I would hesitate to say, as far as staff capacity, as far like if we're adding the Gaga pit that the scouts do, or different plantings, that kind of thing. I don't know how feasible that would be for staff to have to notify the residents around the park for every improvement. But if there's going to be a new playground, or the big improvements like at Harvest Park, absolutely. And then again, with something like the rain garden, the property's right next to where it would be going in.
Yeah.
We want to let them know, because there's a construction period, and we wouldn't want them to be like all of a sudden,
Right.
hey, what's happening? So that is feasible, but letting them know about every change in the park, I don't know that would be feasible. One of the things is it's great to live in a park, and then sometimes there's things that go along with living on parkland. You have the the great access to the park, but also things that
Well,
are happening. So I just
yeah.
wanted to throw that out there. I don't know how feasible that would
Well, definitely, but also, well, maybe it would be something where it's costing money for the city to implement whatever changes. I don't know about the little duck houses or whatever, but anything that would incur some sort of cost, it might be nice to let residents know what's coming.
I have a
Audra?
quick question.
Sure.
Is that information normally put in our newsletter?
That's what I was going to ask.
Yes, because I think that is a great place to put it, as well as the websites.
Sure.
Talking about
Right.
reaching out and finding different ways to connect to people. That is a way of notifying. So
Right.
I'm just
Yeah.
wondering if it's in there.
Yep, when there's, big CIP projects, it would go in the newsletter. It's in there. Council of Life, definitely on the
So
website.
is that what you're gonna have the people that live on Pleasant View do, is look at the newsletter and find out that way about the rain garden? Or how
Chair
will you do
members of
the
the
outreach to
commission.
them?
Yep, chair members of the commission. I believe when we talked about that, it was, and Mark had wanted to clarify, that people who are right next to, adjacent to the garden would be directly contacted. And that's what Paige from the watershed had alluded to as well.
Yeah,
So
okay,
no, they would not have to find out from a
Yeah,
newsletter.
and
They
I
would be
would-
contacted directly.
yeah, and I would say that's really
You know,
very
there's-
important.
on Crestview there's probably 8, maybe 10 houses. I think, and it is a cul-de-sac, so the construction equipment's going to come down their street. So I would say that, at least the 2 houses that abut the project get, direct contact, and maybe just a quick letter is mailed out to the other 8 houses, just saying, this is what's going to happen. There's going to be construction traffic in the neighborhood, et cetera. But if we start having to contact every household in a project when it impacts them, we're talking a lot of houses, because we got 40 parks.
Right,
So-
and I just want to stress again, that this is the goal setting for the commission as far as what the commission wants to accomplish and to do. And again, it can be, your goals can be whatever they want to be, but
Mhm.
so I just want to get back to the goal part of it, is like, what, Commissioner Papa, what would you want to add to number 2 then that isn't already there to, but I absolutely, these are all things we can always talk about at meetings, but as far as it being a goal of the commission, just looking for what you would maybe want that to say, other than trying to engage residents in the community processes and without making it too specific to one certain thing. It's just a thought.
Right,
I do have I had to make sure I was off mute. I did have something to tie this in with, and we all know, and we've already used the word pandemic. When it comes to the Y and the facilities, what are we doing as far as the safety of? Are there requirements that will be, and this is a little bit off, I know, of the goals, but I'd just like to include that as a safety piece in the goals if possible. It may have already been stated previously in our goal statement, but just making sure that it's something that is offered when people go places or come in, and how are we getting more our information and engaging the people of Maplewood? Can we include those things in newsletters? Like right now, through the post office and through the government, you can get the free COVID test. How can we reach more people with things that tie into the pandemic?
I know, being a member of the Y, that they're doing a lot of virtual classes, and so that could be too. People, maybe there's more people doing that I'm not seeing. I don't know what the involvement is, but they do have virtual classes. They have virtual health. They have classes not just on exercising, but on your health and your safety and all that right now. They do have a lot of hand sanitizer all over. You're not required to wear a mask right now, but I think that may just be a city thing. Some people do, some people don't. But there's not a lot of people there, a lot of cleaning. Every time I'm there, there's someone cleaning. I do notice that.
Yes, and I think I was talking more in general and not, well, I did mention facilities, but are we giving out the information to the greater neighboring, the greater city of Maplewood so that people are aware of? I think more about the elderly when it comes to getting information to them that they may not otherwise get through internet, social media. How are we, I know we talked about a lot about how to engage and how to reach. How are we going beyond that to consider those citizens who may not use the forums that most people do?
I think this is a really good point. I was wondering for this, if like maybe in the Maplewood newsletter, we could have something where people sign up for notifications by text message. So if they don't check social media, if there's a big update, they receive a text message or something. I don't know, I'm just brainstorming.
Sure, yeah, and that's what the session's for. So if I can return, Kimmy, just to your question, because I want to make sure I'm understanding that you were speaking in general, but in reference to public safety in essence with pandemic and things like that. Is that right, or am I not? Because one thing I would say is our public safety department really does go out of their way to share that information and get the word out. They might be better equipped than Parks and Natural Resources to do that, but it's a really great point. And maybe, we could do more of sharing what they put out, on our pages and our information as well. But I think public safety does a really good job of that. And then in our facilities, we have signage, and every time it changes, we have staff that really keep on top of, what's required, what's not, and all the recommendations. Even here at the Nature Center, we have huge tubs of hand sanitizer and signage of what we're currently doing. So when people come in, and we've got it on the door too at the Nature Center and at Wakefield. So before you come in, what's expected. That's kind of what we've done with that. Everything changes so much. It seems weekly lately, but is that what you were speaking to? I don't want to put words in your mouth. I'm just trying to make sure.
No,
I understand.
you have that part correct, Audra. And I was also, I kind of incorporated, I was trying to look at number 2. And
Gotcha.
I know we've done some engagement. I'm just wondering, are we leaving anybody out? And I do know, I don't want to duplicate everything that each commission does, but I just want to make sure that it's included. Let's say we have some people who are only interested in Parks and Rec, I'm sorry. And are we including a snapshot of something on our website, or
Sure.
does it need to be stated? And it may not need to be. I just thought I'd throw it out when we talk about engagement, inclusivity.
Yeah, absolutely.
Tying it to what's going on right now. And it's hard
Right.
to keep current. You're absolutely right.
Right.
It'll be something different next week.
But I do want to reassure you that we keep on top of that. And actually Neil Brenneman, that most of you have met through meetings. He's really on top of that, because he helps with the groups that use Edgerton Community Gym and use the Wakefield Community Building. And then, that are in the Y, like Terry said, does a really good job of putting their notifications up and expectations, just with the goal of keeping everyone as safe as possible. But it's tough stuff. For sure. And hopefully
one thing I talked about when I first came on the commission was celebrations of different things. And I do know that we're headed into February. It'll be Black History Month. And I know I talked about, this was pre-COVID, about something going on in the park where we could have posters up, information pieces up, just to give some information on history, maybe some history in Maplewood. I wonder now, this would probably be connected to programming and to the why. It'd be nice to know if they have something going on that specifically talks about that.
Sure.
And the same thing, to embrace our Hmong communities and any other group that's going on. That's what I initially came in and said, I'd like to see a little bit more focus on some specific group things in celebration.
Yeah, and chair, members of the commission, we are just getting back into even offering special events or celebrations. We, our first one in quite a while was doing the pop-up snowshoe event outside. And we're getting back into, and again, we don't need to go into the budget stuff now, but as far as programming that we do ourselves, we're a little bit tied, but again, reaching out to partners, and like you said, I can definitely check with the YMCA and get back to the commission on what maybe they're doing. But then another thought came to mind is, with the history of Maplewood and that it might be a good fit for the HPC commission, the Historic Preservation Commission or the Historical Society. So Kimmy, if you'd like, I can reach out to them and see what kind of things they have, and that might be a really good way to get some of those things up and running.
What about
Yes,
number three? Number three, what if we added after culture and history?
We could. I just don't know that the Parks and Natural Resources Commission would be overseeing the history part of it. Would be a collaboration maybe with the Historical Society or something, but you know what I mean? I just, not to say we need to stay in our lane, but a little bit just these are all great things, and there's ways that we could maybe, like I said, I can check with them, maybe we can partner with them, but.
Audra in Commission, Parks Commission. Hi, everybody.
Hi, Nikki.
Hi, Nikki.
Happy New Year, everybody.
Nikki.
It's good to see you all. I just wanted to make a quick comment to what Kimmy was saying around history and everything. One of my other assignments is to be on the History Commission.
Oh, perfect.
And so, one suggestion I would have is we could have TJ come. And TJ is the new executive director of the Historical Society of Maplewood. And he has brought in a lot of fun new energy to the board and to the Historical Society. I've been spending a lot of time at the farm, well, more time than usual, I should say.
Up in the air even.
Yes, I was like, 80 feet up in the air in a cherry picker to raise money for the Historical Society. It was quite a fun time. It was really cold actually, but it wasn't too bad. But anyways, I think there is some new and exciting things happening with the Maplewood Historical Society and the commission. And so I think that there's a lot of connectivity between the Parks Commission, or possible connectivity between the Parks Commission and the Historical Commission. So I think there's a lot of ideas there. I think one way to start it is maybe if Audra at some point gets TJ to come and do a little presentation here.
Yeah, thank you, Nikki. And that's exactly would speak to number 7 for the groups. And that's where I thought with those groups and letting the commission, and thank you, Kimmy, for bringing that forward. That lets me know these are what the commission is interested in, people coming. So yeah, TJ would be a great fit to come. And I can even see, I can't promise now, but I can see if he even could come to our February meeting and just talk about what they're doing. And then maybe we could share some of these ideas with him. So that would be great.
I think that'd be perfect.
Yeah.
And number 6, maybe move that down on our list, just because with COVID and everything and all the poor students online and trying to deal with school and everything else right now, maybe that one might not be one of our top. It's a great thing to have, but I just don't know if that needs to be one of our top ones right now. I don't know what everybody else.
Yeah, and chair, members of the commission, I think we've never put these in order of importance, but I can see, we've just kind of brainstormed them. But if we can rate them as top down if you want and move them around. We just haven't done that before, but I absolutely can.
I think it's a great idea to have a student, but right now I think it'd be very hard.
But let me ask you, is that something that we're going to attempt to do this next year?
Yeah, I doubt it.
And chair, members of the commission, we had someone, and then with COVID, and then you think things are getting better, and then it's iffy. So it's been delayed, and especially with the meetings not in person. But I I think it's definitely a possibility, if not for the end of this school year, that someone that could come on in August, September, and then join us for the, you know, the last
Okay.
quarter of the year for sure, with the new school year and hopefully COVID in the rearview mirror. So
Yeah,
Okay.
Audra, I added one to our chat, but I wasn't sure if we would have time, but could we add a goal for us to work with the city council or whoever is appropriate on reassessing the Parks and Rec budget? I know that we have had some discussions about that last year, but could we make that a goal?
sure, do you have some wording in mind for that?
I guess I don't know that there's much that we can do, but maybe at least have a discussion with the appropriate people to see if there's anything we can change about that for maybe the next year or whenever the budget cycle happens.
By reassessing, what do you mean specifically? Do you
Are we
mean
talking
like,
about the master plan, or are we talking about like the Parks and Rec for recreational things to be done with the city?
Yeah, right, the
Or like
recreational
that?
budget, so how we
Okay,
kind of don't have a budget anymore. And that was cut, was that last year, Audra?
Yes,
And
Mhm.
it
Yeah,
doesn't sound like
Since
we're getting
2020, yeah.
anything, yeah.
maybe just check in and say maybe meet with the city council to update us on when and if in the near future our budget looks like it may come back, or
And what the criteria is, I guess, like
Right.
how we
So
can
maybe
get
something
some
like
back.
explore the possibilities of reinstating recreation programming
yeah, that sounds
through the
great.
city of Maplewood, something like that. I'll
Yeah, I
work on
like
tweaking
that
it.
wording.
Mhm.
Pardon, what? Craig, did you say something? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. No. Yeah, and then because we're not deciding the goals tonight, and Vicky, if you think of another way of wording it, if you want to send that to me, just, it can't be an email to everyone, reply all, because then we'd be violating open meeting laws. But if you want to send that to me, and if anyone else has something that, you know, after we get done here tonight, and you thought, oh, I might wanted to say that, that's what we may do it over 2 meetings for, and then I can bring that back to the group and then we can look it over. But I mean, this is a great discussion tonight, but just if you think of something, you can still email me, not the whole commission, just something that you want to bring forward for the February meeting. But was that wording, did that sound okay for what you were thinking?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay.
I almost want to categorize into short-term and long-term goals because our list gets a little longer every year. And even though they both fit into both categories, but if we could break them down even more, not at this meeting, but to think about what's
Sure.
achievable right now and what's
Sure.
going to be our long term. I just like to have things in categories instead of we continue to make this each year we add 1 or 2. So
Okay.
Any more comments on our goal settings? So we'll just wait for Audra to update them and then we'll look at them at our next meeting and make a recommendation. Is that correct, Audra?
Yep, and then I will, it's up to the commission. Do you want me to, I can just sort like short-term, mid-term, long-term goals. I'll make categories and we can just kind of figure out maybe where they would fit if the whole group is amenable to that idea.
Sure.
That sounds good. Yeah.
Yep.
Sounds good.
All right. Then we'll move on to unfinished business. Doesn't look like we have any. If anybody has something. Visitor presentations, none. Commissioner presentations, none. Staff presentations. Parks and resource updates.
Yep, I have some,
All
I have
right.
some updates for you. And let me say, first I'll start with Rev Sports, I think, because that was on everyone's mind. And we offered our first sessions through them and it was for volleyball clinics, basketball clinics, lacrosse, soccer, and then Ninja Warrior Fitness. And the first session starts January 20th and January 22nd. And the numbers are really good. And actually I peeked on, I couldn't see the exact number, but I could see how many spots were left when I went to reserve. And there were 2 classes that have wait lists. So that was a really, really good start off the bat. So we have, last update that I had, we had, was it between 65 and 70 kids signed up for just session 1 in January, and they will have these 4-week sessions. They'll have them January, February, March, April for all those different core sports. And there's 4 sessions of 2 sessions of volleyball, then there's basketball, and then there's lacrosse and soccer, and the Ninja Warrior Fitness. There's 2 sessions. There's even a session of floor hockey and baseball coming up. So these programs will run through the end of May, and in between then we'll be looking at what else to offer. But we're really happy with the start that people have signed up for these sessions, and they'll all be at Edgerton Community Gym, which is the gym that we supervise. So we've got the gym space for them. So any questions about Rev Sports?
Audra, do you know if we were able to bring in any local coaches or instructors for those programs?
You know what, that I'm not sure. I can follow up and ask.
I'm just curious if you got.
I know
anyone
that
from
Neil,
Maplewood.
right, yep. But I can tell you that every session for this takes place at Edgerton Community Gym. None of them are outside of the community, so they're all here in Maplewood. And then the YMCA had some classes as well, and we're waiting for an update on those. But they had a session start January 10th for volleyball leagues, where it's actually teams that would be playing in the league with other Y locations. So it's like the traveling league. So it gives you that experience outside of like a clinic. And they were looking to run a basketball league. And then the tumbling, I don't think went. I could be wrong, but they offered it. And they are still doing the adult volleyball leagues that we used to do. They've taken on those teams, and they're running the adult volleyball league. So that is the update for them. And then moving on to, as far as events, we did do a pop-up snowshoe event this past Saturday. It was supposed to be in conjunction with the public safety skate with the, fire and police, but they had to, due to some staffing issues, they had to postpone it until January 29th. So that will still happen. The skating part of it on the 29th, but we decided it was a perfect day after we cleared all the snow that we just had to do it. So we still were out there on Saturday, and they had a little over 20 people come out and try snowshoes and go around Wakefield Park, and they seemed to have a great time. So it was, I think, a good start to the pop-up events, and the next one will most likely take place at the Nature Center. But again, they're pop-up because we have to have perfect snow conditions. It has to be at least 4 inches of snow, and when we know that it looks like it's going to be a good weekend, then we'll put it on social media and offer those up. So any questions about those?
Audra, is it possible for us to get this in hard copy so we can see it and be able to review it, or not? All these updates that you've given us.
Yeah, I could type something up for if you would like. These are just me pulling from a lot of different sources to update you here, but if you want me to type up a hard copy, I can do that.
I don't know if anybody else would appreciate it, but it just, for me, I'm kind of a visual person, and I just like looking at it, and then I can go back and refer to it later. So
sure, and I can send you the flyer. I mean, if you want the flyers, otherwise you can always look for these event flyers on our Parks and Natural Resources Facebook page. And if you want them emailed to you, I can email you the flyers of what these are and like what the classes are. I can do that.
yeah, that'd be cool.
Okay. All right, and then just to let you know that the prior improvements, I did reference those at our October meeting, and then I don't remember if I talked it in November, but they are done. They are completed. I don't have pictures for you tonight because they're all under snow, but they are done, and they look great, but I want to wait till I can get at them and give you better pictures. But you're welcome to head out to the Priory, just right off of Larpenter Avenue, and you can go check them out with the new walkways and bridges to make that place a lot more user friendly. So I'm really excited. They turned out really well. And then another update, I believe I updated you on this, but there was another commissioner that had a question about it. So I want to make sure you know that the Gethsemane playground, they ran out of time before the snow there was the supply chain issue. It took forever to get the equipment. So we're actually storing all of the playground equipment up in the public works yard. And then as soon as the ground is thawed and they can get at it, they'll be installing the playground. So they just weren't able to get it in yet this winter, but they're ready to go whenever the weather cooperates. And that's for the replacement of the Gethsemane playground that was burned due to arson. So it'll be nice to get that playground back up and running. And then I did want to let you know about some other programming. This is part of the task force updates, the Rev Sports and the YWAS. But as far as Nature Center programming, we've been working with different groups and community ed. We're actually through community ed, they're going to be offering several classes starting in April out here at the Nature Center. And one of the instructors, former naturalist at the Nature Center, she's going to be going through community ed, but she'll be offering the classes here. And they are bird hikes, native garden class, one called Mom's the Bomb. I'm not quite sure what that is. I'll have to find out more. So there's several sessions of bird hikes. There's a pollinator planning class that's happening at Harvest Park with Urban Roots. There's going to be a survival paracord bracelet class that she's going to offer, something on dragonflies. And so there's classes from April all the way through August 20th. So we've got a lot of nature programming on the horizon that's coming up. And then there's tentatively on September 27th, there's a native seed harvesting event with Urban Roots down at Harvest Park. So stay tuned. I'm not sure if those harvest dates are fully set in stone, but the classes are, and you'll be able to sign up with those through community ed, and we'll be putting those on our Facebook page, our website, and getting the word out. So we're really happy about that. Any questions on those?
No, but you've been
So
busy.
the Facebook
Have
page,
been
is that a
busy,
is that a Maplewood City? Is that a Maplewood City Facebook page, or is it one specific to the Nature Center?
Oh, we combined the Nature Center page is now combined with Parks, and it's now Parks and Natural Resources
Okay.
for our Facebook, but then we also post on the city. They cross promote. So our communications director will put it on the city Facebook page, and it'll also be on ours, and we share information with each other just to reach as many people as we can.
So if I go on Facebook, is it how would it be listed if I go to search for it? Would it be Maplewood, or?
If you type in Maplewood Parks and Natural Resources, you should be able to pull the page right out, but after this, I can send you the direct link to the.
Okay.
That'll probably be easiest, because you said you like a hard copy, so I can send that to you.
Okay, cool.
Right, and
Very
let's see.
good.
Yep, let's see, anything else? Oh, we have another Eagle Scout project on the horizon. We've had a lot of Eagle Scouts busy, and we have Ensign is his name, and he is looking to build nice wood enclosures for our recycling and trash bins out at the Nature Center. We have some in the play yard, but the ones on the street entrances are still those plastic liners that we use. And so he wants to build some nicer ones that we can use at the different entrances to put out. So we're just in the talking stages of figuring out what he needs, and then he'll be coming to you all, hopefully in February, and telling you about what he'd like to do for his project. So just giving you a heads up there.
That sounds great.
Yeah, and
That's
then
really good.
last but not least, just wanted to remind everyone that the virtual State of Maplewood is coming up. It's on February 15th, 10 a.m. And encourage people to sign up. But there'll also be a Q&A with the mayor. And if you want to sign up, you sign up through, and I can email this to you, but it's maplewoodmn.gov/state. And that's where you can go and you can sign up for the virtual State of Maplewood.
And
Nikki, do you
what's
have
the date
anything?
on that again?
Oh, it's February 15th, and it's in the morning, and it'll be
Got it.
Zoom.
Okay.
So any other questions for me?
I don't think so.
All right, well, thanks, everyone. I
I think we
appreciate
can
great brainstorming. I'll do my best to pull your thoughts and ideas together, and I'll bring them back to our next meeting.
All right.
Chair
Thank you.
Chair
What?
Malay and Audra, I had a quick question
Sure.
about
Yeah.
the Rev Sports.
Yes.
Do you know the numbers, or if there was anybody who through the Rev Sports also asked for the the affordability, low income monies or program. I'm not sure what it's called.
Sure,
think-
yeah, the scholarship vouchers.
Yes.
I will check with Neil Brannaman. I'll check to see and find that out, and I can get back to you on that. I'm not sure right at this moment.
Okay, thanks.
Yep, sure.
All right, anything else, Audra?
Nope, that's all I have.
Make a motion to adjourn the meeting at
Move to
7:20.
adjourn.
Second,
Move to adjourn.
Second.
all in favor?
I second.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned at 7:20 PM. Everyone have